Hello and welcome to the Modern Romantic Podcast, where we inspire romanticism through passionate people who do incredible things. Hi, I've been cultivating my discipline of paying attention. Hi, I'm Trey. And cultivating her wonder from all the beautiful things in our life is my co host, Emily. Hi, Emily.
Hi. Thank you. That was nice.
You're welcome. And it's true.
I never know what to expect, so just here. I'm along for the ride.
Look, for the first 2 years of this podcast, it was pure chaos for these intros. And now
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to do something, still keep you on your toes, but still something nice and true.
Like 1 minute, I'm right. No, I can appreciate that.
Okay.
We can improv.
Okay.
I can improv. I can do it.
How's your week been?
It's been really busy. We're gearing up for the Sauk Center Festival of the Arts, and it's a big undertaking, and it's going to be awesome. And that is only because of all of the work everybody has put in, including me. So I'm tired. But I'm really excited about it because it really is going to be awesome. So if you're in the
Yay!
central Minnesota area, go to Sauk Center on August 29th and 30th and experience all the art that is going to be all through downtown.
Woo! That's exciting.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Go to Sauk, SAUK, Center, CENTRE, artfest.com to learn more.
Yeah, you should go. There are going
This
to
is
be a
an
lot of really
unpaid
fun.
ad.
This is totally a paid ad. I paid $5 for this ad. I'm
Oh,
going to get
thank
it.
you.
You're
Have you
welcome.
gotten your money's worth?
Yes, I have. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I am excited because we have with us tonight a returning guest, which we don't do too often. Every now and then we do. And it is Steven Seidenberg. Welcome back to the show, Steven.
Thank you. It's great to be here again and to see you both again.
Good to see you too.
Likewise. Stephen, our last conversation was honestly one of my favorites that we've had because we don't often get very philosophical on this podcast, and that episode was a lot of philosophy, and I think it pulled at some threads that I was excited that we went down, and I was very happy to go back and listen to your perspective on things because it's sometimes very different from my own, but it doesn't make it bad. It was just different and it was challenging in a way that I think your art likes to challenge people. So to kind of kick us off, um, beyond that, the one thing I have to ask is, and this is a big question to start out with, but last episode, you told us that you do not photograph people intentionally, but we didn't really get the philosophy behind why you don't photograph people. So, if you don't mind, can we start there?
Sure, no problem. Well, first to say, I of course, I'm not. It's fine art photography, so I'm not doing the sort of photography that would require me to photograph people. I'm not photographing weddings or photographing. I'm not doing journalistic photography, so I have a complete kind of free reign about what I'm doing, which is essential for these kinds of limitations. But I don't think it's possible for me to feel like I'm escaping the history of photographic objectification of people if I photograph people. So, and it's a long history. It goes back to the beginning of photography, and images of people have been. They are occasionally liberating. They are largely profoundly destructive, in the sense that they foment exactly the kind of objectification and both sexualizing people and generalizing who they are based on certain kinds of appearance. Much photography, let's take, for instance, some of the great WPA photographers, Walker Evans or Dorothy Lang, or they are often photographing people in states of abjection, and specifically in states of abjection. I call it bad teeth photography. It's like it is supposed to be. It is emotionally wrenching and emotionally effective because it is meant to give the perspective of people seeing the photographs a feeling of pity for those people, and it's a moral position I don't want to encourage. So,
Hmm.
on the contrary, I would
Right.
like to. So I do my work is often documentary, and in contexts that are quite, they can't, not always, but can be abject. I photograph, for instance, um, i- i- in the contemporary world, I photograph um, domestic. Uh, the domestic circumstances of people in squatted buildings in Italy. Um, which is what I've been doing since I saw you last, in fact. But so I've done projects in, say, tent cities and things like that. And I focus on the domestic circumstances that people are in, which I think allows me to compositionally uh, invite the viewer into the photograph so they can feel something like empathy rather than pity. And that's or that's the response that I'm looking for,
Yeah.
is for people to put themselves in the circumstance of the photo, not feel a distance from the circumstance of the photo, and because someone else is in that circumstance. The other problem for me with photographing people is a purely aesthetic problem. Once you put a person in the photo, all other aesthetic decisions go out the door. There's sort of no point in having anything else in the photo. There's no point. Even the way in which you structure the photo, it can cease to feel like it has any significance outside of the framing of a human face. And so yeah, it feels limiting to me in from an artistic perspective.
Sure. So what would be then is does that also apply to photography that and I'm not I feel like I don't want this to be about why aren't you photographing people?
Yeah,
But more like because I like your take on this. But I also thought about then what if it's a photograph of a person whose face isn't visible, like it's from the back or it's,
yeah.
you know, they're driving or there's something else. There's a person there, but you don't really see their face.
Yeah, and that's a lot more easy to imagine working with without it immediately objectifying the person.
Sure.
Obviously, it can go either way. And there are certainly people who or photographers who photograph people in various ways that I find incredibly compelling
Yeah.
uh, as well. So it's but for there are more photographers who don't. Uh,
Right. Yeah,
so
especially like you have whole genres dedicated to that, like a street photographer who
oh
that's what they photograph, or like you said,
yeah.
the WPA photographers.
Yeah, and
It's
street photography can be really problematic. You know, you people using other people's images. People do it all the time now, just with their cell phones. But even the history and of street photography, the ways in which bodies of color are depicted can be so radically problematic in a lot of street photography from the first half of the 20th century, for instance. Yeah.
sure.
So, in not photographing people, in our last episode, we also talked about that you are photographing things that are maybe perceived as abstract. So,
Mm.
by not photographing them, does the person then become the abstract, and or does it become this other thing that maybe I haven't identified verbally?
The person you person the person people in general or particular like say a person. I mean, sometimes the work is abstract in the sense that it can uh, as an example, kind of flat field photography I've where I've photographed um, these patterns and uses of adhesive tape on the floors of the Tokyo subway system.
Mhm.
Right.
And so, and then and very consciously thinking of it as painterly composition. It's color and form, and as abstract composition in that way, in the way that that say, you know, abstract painting is works. But there's this added. fact that this is found uh, uh, detritus of human activity in a particular place at a particular time. And that is one of the things that photography can do in a really interesting way is I think if it's the term is indexical after the philosopher Charles Peirce, like you if the photograph seems to present itself as though it shows that there was something there, right? There's lots of photography that doesn't do that, and from the beginning of photography, but now really a lot of it doesn't. But if it is establishing that relationship to the world that's being photographed, then there's an added level, I think, of intrigue and interest in the fact that this is material that is placed by someone, and one can imagine who that someone was and how that
Sure.
worked, and what the circumstances of these things that are now framed into abstraction and made abstract also by virtue of changes of scale. You print something really large that is in fact quite small, and things like that.
Okay.
If that answers your question, I'm not sure if it does.
I think it does. I in asking and thinking of that question, I was almost wondering if we'll come back to that. Brain is thinking about 5 other things, so
Yeah.
we'll come back to that thought. It
Okay.
does answer that, but I'm intrigued by your perspective that it almost forces the audience to conceive of the human. So whereas I was maybe thinking that the human became this abstract concept, they're really not. They're still part of the image without being part of it. And so the viewer is still forced to, not forced to, is still encouraged to consider and pose the question of how did this get here? What were the circumstances, like you were saying, that led to this culmination of this moment? And so it becomes a concept of the general idea of people and their impact.
Mhm.
So it's people are still present without being present in your photography, and I think that's
Yes.
a very unique way of explaining that. So, thank you.
Yeah. No, my pleasure. Yeah.
So I have a question then based on this, just of a curiosity. I want to know what kind of art you choose for your walls then.
Ooh.
Is it very different than the art you create, or is it similar?
It's both.
Okay.
I don't have any. I have I think I have one. I mean, I do collect some photography of photographers whose work I admire. Um, some of it is quite similar to the work I create, like for instance, Aaron Siskind, who is an important
Okay.
photographer for me and one of the first, like the primogenitors of abstraction in photography. Um, but there are other photographers who certainly have influenced other types of projects I do. So Stephen Shore is a photographer who I studied with actually, and whose uh, vernacular photography and offhand photography of the commonplace has very much uh, impacted my sense of what is possible in photographing these quotidian domestic circumstances of people's apartments and bedrooms and things like that.
Sure.
um, I don't have any, although so for instance, I have some faceless figures in a Gary Winogrand photograph. So
Okay.
and that's it of all in terms of photography. But then I have other kinds of artists, painters, and that I like, and people who work on paper, and some are friends, some are things that I've picked up along the way.
Awesome.
Yeah, I have a lot of art on the wall. It's like a fairly cluttered wall space, as you can tell from behind me here. So,
That's actually good to hear. Yeah.
I mean, it's really quite crowded now. And another photographer I'll mention is who I often talk about as a photographer, and I encourage anybody to look at her work. A photographer named Lynn Cohen, who is
Okay.
uh, who- so Lynn Cohen, and then also people might know Bernd and Hilda Beck here. So they did these typologies of German uh, industrial structures in the post-war period, and they are so. And I often do these kinds of repetitions, these typologies, similarly. And Lynn does. She photographs empty, profoundly contrived spaces.
Yeah.
And they're very interesting. Training facilities or waiting rooms or empty spaces in like conference halls and hotels that are sort of intermediate spaces between empty spaces that are meant to welcome people, but where no one goes really.
Yeah, like a hospital room. I'm seeing some of her work, or like a warehouse. It looks clean and it looks even brightly lit, like it's meant
Yeah,
to be inhabited, but it's not.
yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
quite empty. So,
Fascinating.
yeah.
Yeah. And what was the other artist you mentioned at the same time as Lynn?
Bernd and Hilde Becher. They work together, a couple, and yeah, it's Becher.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And they were part
Okay.
of all sort of roughly within there was maybe you know about the assembly, I'm not sure, but or trade for them. But this in 1975, there was an exhibition called the New Topographics that was the Beckers, Louis Baltz, Stephen Shore, Robert Adams, William Eggleston, all these people thinking about the American landscape, or not just the American landscape, about landscape in a new way that, had everything to do with the built environment.
Yeah. Yeah, I see there's like a series of water towers and things like that.
Yeah, that's some of that kind of work. That's the this turning point, I think, in the history of photography, in the way in which, and both in black and white and in color photography. So these sort of new colorists, people like Stephen Shore and Bob Adams and William Eggleston, trying to make, and then in other countries like Luigi Ghiri in Italy and Guido Guidi, these are people who are trying to present for the first time, and Golden also, color photography as art photography, because sort of everything that was art was only black and white, and color photography was just for for family pictures and
Right.
things like that, until this was a real shift in how the photography markets and gallerists and museums started to see what was possible with color photography.
I mean, consider this like a first world problem, but I kind of view that as a very dramatic way of thinking of that black and white was the only form of art, and then color be reserved for these very formal type of events. But I'm also speaking from a place where I've had access to both for
Yes.
a lot of my life. So I'm also speaking, I think, from a place of privilege. So I should probably journal about that.
Well, no, just historically, it's an interesting thing. Color photography was later, and it was really a popular form. So it's not just informal context. It might be, you know, you have a little box camera or like a brownie or whatever, and you have some color film. And the thing that I think made it feel like, since it was somehow associated with people making photographs with cheap cameras that you couldn't control the parameters of, with bad lenses and things like that, and then sending the work because you couldn't process it in print in your own darkroom. It meant it was something that was out of your control in a certain way. So it wasn't until later that people started to accept that you could control it in other ways that were important and
Right.
interesting and compelling. But, at the beginning of photography, nobody wanted to think photography was an art in any way.
Right.
It took quite some time for anybody to think of it as more than a mere documentation. Uh,
And I don't think that stigma is gone entirely in a lot of areas.
yeah,
Maybe in specifically in the art world, it is seen still by many, but or it is seen as art by many, but I've run into that a few times where it's like, oh, because anyone can be a photographer with their cell phone, it's so easy to say I'm a photographer. Therefore, unless you're adding the words fine art to it, then it's kind of like it does feel like it's being cheapened, at least to
yeah.
me. Maybe that's just been my experience, but I see what you're saying, that it's not always been a
Well, I think it certainly is an interesting conundrum. I mean, because of the cell phone and the ubiquity
Mhm.
of cameras and everybody taking photographs now. It's just, I think I make a distinction with people between people who it's enough of a distinction to really to divide it pretty radically. Do you make prints or not? Do you,
Yeah,
or
right.
if you don't make prints, I don't. Maybe you're doing wonderful things, but you're not a photographer. You're doing something else. You're a content creator, right?
Oh,
I don't know, dude.
that's a
What
way to put it though, yeah.
Yeah.
like you made that's a maybe that's an art of its own kind, but it's not photography, which is the art of making photographs. So it's making prints, not making files. And I don't care how you get there, if you get there digitally or through film or whatever. Making negatives is also not making prints. So you have to make prints in
Mhm.
order to be a photographer.
Because
And
that is a photograph.
that is a photograph, and it changes how you think about what you're doing when you're shooting, because you shoot towards the print if that's what you're doing, and if you are making a living or a life in photography in various ways, you're doing it by selling the prints, right? And by
Mhm.
showing prints, by having books of the prints. You might have a website, as I do, just to sort of demonstrate, but that's not the work. The work is the prints, for sure, and the books and things like that.
Interesting. I kind of want to explore the idea of prints because I've seen prints done on a variety of different textures and surfaces, but
Sure.
somehow the image gets transferred. I'm curious if you have ever seen the same image printed on two different formats, and
Sure.
did the texture or the transformation of that being printed on these things change your interpretation of that photograph depending on which one you were looking at?
Well, I do print on. I'll print the same photograph on different papers or on different through different technologies,
Mhm,
and it entirely changes how I think about a particular print. And I will do a run of prints uh, uh, of a particular image on a paper that I like, and that will be that run. And then I'll do another run of that same image on a different paper, or through a different process if it's a C print or something like that. And those are, uh, yeah, they're radically different ways of expressing what the image is expressing. And it also size is an important distinction. I mean, for
mhm,
many photographers now, the big for photographers, I think uh, the big shift in the move to digital, whether they're shooting analog or with digital capture, is being able to print digitally. So even I used to shoot uh, a lot more film than I do now. But even in those circumstances in recent years, I scan the negatives and then I print them through digital means, because I can make a print that's 40 inches by 60 inches. And I can't do that in a dark room. And that's an amazing thing. And to show work like that, it's impactful in a different way. And it means that when I'm shooting and I'm making the work, I can think, okay, this is something that's going to be great, really big. And this is something that isn't. This is something that'll be interesting on a smaller scale. But those are all, it's all becomes part of the shooting process, actually, as you do it. Emily, this must be true for you as well.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah.
And yeah, you're thinking about all of these parameters in the end result as they will be manifest in what you imagine the end result.
Hmm. Yeah, and sometimes when you're in the middle of shooting, sometimes that's when you think, oh, that's gonna look good at the 40 by 60 or whatever,
Yeah,
even though it's tiny
sure.
here in front of you. You're
Right,
like, oh, this is gonna be amazing when it's the wall, or
right.
whatever. Is
Yeah.
that the largest size you've printed is 40 by 60?
Uh, Essentially, yes.
Okay, because that's larger than I've
It's
printed.
not always it's not always that aspect ratio, but
Oh,
uh,
right, but
oh,
okay,
but essentially the uh, 40 inches wide is the largest width. Maybe
okay,
42 once or twice, occasionally.
okay.
Yeah,
I do
it's
love a print that big. Yeah,
yeah,
I do.
it's fun to show prints like that.
Uh-huh. Yeah, in
Pages.
fact, when I started printing, I was immediately thinking like, I want this to take up someone's wall.
Mhm.
So I was printing how I would want it to be. And
Yeah,
so many people came up to me and were like, if you just offered this at like an 8 by 10,
yeah,
I would have bought it. And I was like, oh, I didn't think about anyone else's
yeah.
space or limitations or
Super hard to sell a 40 by 60 print.
it is. But I was like, no, you're taking this.
I mean, it's doable, but it's like I seriously, it's like corporate collections. That's who's going to buy a 40 by 60. Nobody wants to take up an entire wall in their house. Many people don't have 40 by 60 walls. No, I know, I do too, but it's not. But I don't now because I have less room for other work. That's the
That's
problem.
true.
Hmm.
That is true.
I
I
have
still
Hmm.
Yeah. No, I store all of my big prints that I don't haven't sold, but
Oh,
I mean, it's fine. Showing them is great, and the goal is to show them, and showing them is
yeah.
interesting. So, uh, and I've sold a bunch in Japan. That's the only place I've sold giant prints. So that's okay.
That's cool, though. Trey,
Was
do
it
you wanna oh, sorry.
I was gonna ask, was it of the work that you did of, taking pictures of the laid down tape?
It was of
Oh,
the
yeah.
it was of that, and I'll be doing some. I think for some shows of this book I have coming out of photographs of another project in Japan, which we might have talked about last time in the city of Kanazawa. This is
Oh,
a monochrome project, and it's of essentially vacant lots, empty lots in a
that's right.
city, depopulating city. Um, and that book is coming out in the new year. Um,
Excellent.
so I'll have some shows, and I'll have some more shows in Japan, and I'll try to do some big prints for them.
Excellent. I do remember you speaking about that.
Yeah,
I think we talked about that at length even.
yeah, maybe so.
Um, and you have this project you're doing with, I don't know if you wanna talk about it, it's in Italy where
Yeah,
you've been doing that. Can you talk about that at all?
sure. Well, Italy has a long history of people reusing abandoned buildings
Yeah.
for housing much of the time, but also for cultural purposes. You make it into a club or into a movie theater or an art space of one kind or another, a museum. And uh, it's obviously it can be a difficult situation depending on the politics at the moment, and so people are often under threat of eviction in one way or another from those spaces. And so it's been over many years we've gotten some ability we've managed to gain the trust, I guess you could say, of people in these places, and gotten to know them, and made great friends in some of these communities. And this is an instance where the fact that I don't ever photograph people is essential, because a lot of people don't want to be photographed, and they're used to the way. And really see this in the way that journalists do this in this context. But they're used to people coming and photographing them for supposedly sympathetic journalistic reasons, and then using the images in right-wing agendas for the purposes of helping to evict them in one way or another.
Mm.
So,
Wow.
uh, yeah, no, it's really terrible. So you have to gain people's trust. It takes a long time. They have to see what you're doing and see how you're using the other images you've used, and yeah, it's intense and it can be really uh, difficult. I mean, the people are in difficult circumstances. That is to say, uh, and some of the places that I've been able to uh, have this kind of relationship with have disappeared. And it's the photographs that I've taken are essentially the only visual documentation
Oh,
of
wow.
these people's lives in a particular space. And they're people. They're some are migrants, some are Italians who can't afford to live in Rome because it's very expensive. Some are, it's people from all over Europe and all over the world that are in these communities. And we're actually hoping to, we've established a kind of relationship with a squad in Athens now as well. That's also facing eviction, and we will probably go back in the fall to do some work there in hopes of helping to keep them in place in some small way.
Yeah.
I am curious. When it comes to those images, I've been fortunate to see a few of them, and I've seen some of the discourse call them hauntingly beautiful. And it made me think about when you take images like that of such a visceral moment, I know that I can have empathy for what this group of individuals is going for, but I'm also not there. Do you ever worry that the images will be seen as just hauntingly beautiful and that there's no action and discourse that comes from it? And if so, what do you intentionally do in order to keep that discourse going?
You can't completely control how your work gets used or gets seen. Ultimately, it's a problem for anyone in every way. It's a problem for people making a podcast, right? Or but too, but the I think part of it is working with my collaboration with Carolyn White, an anthropologist and cultural geographer who writes about the work and who writes extensively about it, and we publish about it. And when the books come out, she writes these kinds of historical and analytical essays in that context. And at the same time, I try to emphasize that these are the work is conceptual work on some level. It happens in series, and these things happen in relationship to each other, right? They're not, so it's really not one photograph. And those photos, I really don't like to show in individual piece. I like to show them within a grouping, basically.
That's their power. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's not, as opposed to some of the more abstract work where I will show them individually, I will have a show, I will sell individual pieces. But with the work in the squats, I don't sell individual pieces either, because they are a part of this conceptual framework that has to be there to hold it together so that they're not just hauntingly beautiful, as you say. I like it that people find them compelling aesthetically, but it has to be under or within the brackets of this conceptual framework and political framework.
I think about that as like, mm, Emily, you might appreciate this analogy. It's like owning just the Fellowship of the Ring and you don't have any of the other parts of Tolkien. Because, yes, one piece does have a considerable amount of depth to it, but that's only one part of the story. And it may be a big chunk, but it doesn't tell you everything.
Right. That'd be like owning just the two towers then.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, because you sorry, my cat
I know. It was an appropriate moment, I think.
is she's she's just doing what cats do. Hey, baby.
I didn't know that you were profounded uh, fans of the Tolkien universe, as it were.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Trey is as much of a fan as I am. I probably am. I don't know, Trey. I can't speak for you, so I don't know, but I have been for quite some time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoy them. Um, I've been able to make it through part of them, but it is very dense, and
Wait,
sometimes I
we're
Uh-oh.
talking about the books, right? Not you watched
Yes,
the movies. Okay,
I've
I just
watched the
wanted to be clear.
movies, but
Okay.
Yes,
I've attempted to start reading The Fellowship of the Ring, and it's dense.
it's dense.
It's dense.
I mean,
When
it's not like reading Shakespeare.
you take 20 pages to describe, like, a singular event that's happening,
Huh?
it's a lot, and sometimes I have to go back and reread some of those, lengthy descriptors. Mhm, I do.
It sorry. Baby, get down. She's gonna tip the mic stand over. Come here, babe. Say hi.
What is that creature's name?
This is Velvet.
Velvet.
Yeah. She's
Yes.
my 10-year-old rescue kitty.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very
She
pretty.
knows it too. She knows how spoiled she is. Um so yeah, I get what you're saying. I hope that one day you can learn to relish that.
I will. I will.
I've
Hey.
got this recorded now.
She's gonna blackmail me with
Are
it.
you a fan too, Stephen?
I to some extent, I don't know if you've uh, we've talked about me as a photographer, but I don't know if we've talked about my writing much in the last episode of this
Not
one.
as much. We should.
Which
Oh,
is okay. And if you think that, I just think it may, um, if Tolkien feels very dense, it may not be your thing, because it's I will tell you now, it is not easy reading. It is difficult reading, and knowingly so, and I hope enjoyably so. But it's dense, very dense work. So
So
I will
what's the type of Oh, go ahead, Trey. I'm sorry.
I will happily give it a chance.
okay,
Happily.
all right, please do. Yeah.
What do you find is the type of person that's reading your books?
I don't know. I guess sometimes it's people. It can be people who are interested in poetry or philosophy, or uh, I think sort of avant-garde-ish modernism. People, maybe if people I like people who like Beckett or Joyce or Stein, that kind of
Okay. Yeah.
that, which are the things that I'm sort of pulling from, and also maybe I hope people who are interested in philosophy more generally, and in some kinds of other poetic discourse that's not narrative.
Right. Josh in the chat said, "Give me the dense writing. I was just discussing Joyce the other day."
Okay, well, please. My most recent book is called Coda. I hope that you will take a look. It's quite Joycean in its way.
Joycean.
Yes,
It is joyfully Joycean.
it is. It is.
Trey's looking it up right now.
Because she can hear my keyboard clacking,
I
yes.
can. So can the audience.
Hi, audience. I'm not gonna apologize for
We're here
anything.
too. Josh said I will definitely give that a read.
Okay, great. I can even
Excellent.
show you. I can show you what it looks like. It's
Oh, awesome cover.
Ooh.
from a series of mine from uh, another Italian series, which is of those little doors that allow access to plumbing and electrical conduits from the street that are on
I
the outside.
remember that. Yeah. Very
So,
cool.
yeah.
Did you find it, Trey?
I did find the book, yes.
Okay. Also, by the way, should you be interested, I have done, for my last 3 books of writing literary works, I've done audiobooks that
Oh, cool.
are freely available and can be streamed from any service, from Spotify or iTunes or Audible or whatever, or downloaded or streamed from my website for free.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you read them yourself?
Yes. Yes. I'm
Oh, bonus.
Well, I know what I'm doing.
Oh, please. I hope you enjoy it.
Thank you.
That sounds great. I think there's something to be said about you reading your own work because you know what you put into it, how you wanted it to sound, and you can make that happen in a
It's
way that someone who's just interpreting it maybe can't. So I do love that you did that yourself.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I think it's true when I think some people just aren't cut out for it though. You know, some people are.
True. Yeah.
You have to take it seriously. I think if you're going to do something, if you're going to read your own work, and I mean, I even doing of course, we all do readings. People
Mhm.
have books come out, as you know, and like I feel like not everybody feels comfortable doing a reading, and I understand that people have performance anxiety of various kinds, and but you know, there are some, like, people don't practice, and I don't understand this. People get up and they read stuff and they haven't done it, but you have to practice it 100 times before you get on a stage and do it in front of people, to know how you want it to sound, to know where you want the pauses to be, to know it's a performance essentially. I understand it as a performance, and I think it should be treated as such, even though it's not obviously a theatrical performance. But and you know, somebody says you have 20 minutes to read, you have to know when 20 minutes is over, right?
Yes.
25 is not right. You know, there are other people who might be reading after you or before you. It's not, people can't, people, you need to, it's not that you need to follow the rules, but you're being considerate to other people and to the audience and everything else when
Mhm.
you understand what the parameters are and you try to excel within them.
Right. Right. It's interesting because last week we just interviewed. Well, I don't want to call it an interview because it's really not. We chatted with Helen Laser, who is a voiceover artist.
Oh, really?
And so she has done audiobooks and other performances. And so we got to pick her brain a little bit about voiceover work and things like that.
Oh,
And
interesting.
uh, the question I had for her in the last episode was, how do you go? And I think the answer was just it came with practice, but how do you go from one day to the next reading the same material for like chapter 2 or chapter 3 after you've done chapter 1? And how do you stay consistent with your voice? Because I'm not practiced. So
Right.
I know that if I go back and listen to what Trey and I recorded the day before for like an ad or whatever we're doing, and I'll listen to myself and go, oh, what? Or I'll try to add one little bit onto the end or onto it because I forgot something, and I'll
Yeah.
try to have the same tone and the same volume and the same distance from the mic and all those things. And it's not as easy as I thought it would be.
No, it's not. I mean, I think I she probably records in the studio, and
Yeah,
for
she
me,
has.
when I record this kind of long thing, I record in the studio. So it's a
Okay.
different. So then you have somebody else adjusting and making sure the levels are the same, and you know, at least some of the hard work is done. I did the first book I did as an audiobook called Plain Sight, which was from 2020, came out in 2020. Um, I did that. It was COVID, and I did it myself.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
that was a huge pain. It was just it was unbearable. You know, it's a lot long stretches of reading and figuring out how to overdub where I've made a mistake or where I've flubbed something and all that stuff. So much It's so much faster and easier to do it in a studio, for sure, with a sound engineer. It's great.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I bet.
So the last two, after, I think it came out okay. Plain Sight did, but Anon and then Coda both. I think they sound good. I think the like all everything sounds right.
And I do have to say, you do have a very nice speaking voice, and so it will be easy to listen to things like that. So I look
Thank you.
forward to it.
Okay. Yeah, appreciate it.
So speaking of Helen Laser, we do this thing every show, which you know because you've been on the show
Yeah.
before. But our last guest being Helen Laser, she had a question for you. And then we'll ask you a question for our next guest. So
Right.
Helen's question for you is what is what is currently bringing you non-monetized joy?
Non-monetized. I don't know if anything ever brings me monetized joy, actually.
That's a good answer right there. Yeah.
I have trouble with monetizing my joy. So, but yeah, the problem for me is I'm really just that I just want to make my work. I don't whether it's the visual work or writing. That's really the only thing I care about doing. I don't like it's the only thing I get really profound joy from. I mean, friends and all kinds of stuff, but everything. I just want to make work. That's fun. Yeah.
That's a good answer.
That's a great answer. And then upcoming, we have
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Devin Moores.
Right.
Um, Devin,
Yes.
I apologize in advance if I'm pronouncing your last name incorrectly. We have done our research, and that was my best take at that. So, uh, this gentleman makes music, and he is self-described as cinematic mythic folk music, playing a wide variety of different instruments. So
15 of them.
15 of them,
Yeah.
ranging from the dulcimer to the Irish flute to violin, piano, saxophone, and more. So, Stephen, what would be your question for Devin?
Before we got on, of course, you told me who Devin was, so I could think about this a little bit. And I, because we talked about the Balron and how you play that, Emily, this Irish drum, and Devin plays it as well. And I mentioned about having played in bands when I was younger with an Irishman who played the Balron. But it just sort of made me think of he didn't play the Balron in my band; he just played a drum kit in my band. But of other Celtic music that I've heard. So I don't know if Devin plays with other people. Do you know if Devin plays with other people? Like plays in a band with or tours with other people?
It sounds like he has, but he's mostly a solo artist.
Okay. Well, I'll as a sometimes musician, and I used to be and a person who used to play out a lot, play in clubs and stuff a lot. Uh, I will. I I saw. He'll probably know this band. This is it's probably way too long to spend on this. I hope you don't mind that I'm.
No,
Okay.
No, go for it.
we're good.
There was a Scottish folk band. Probably still. They I don't know if they still exist as a band, but very popular Scottish traditional music called Silly Wizard
Mm-hmm.
some time ago, and I saw them play a show at the Somerville Theater, I believe it was, and the music is quite. I guess you could call it quite romantic in a certain way. It's quite soft. The ballads, beautiful. The singer has a beautiful voice. It's very melodic and and quite melancholy. Some of them are original songs. Some of them are traditional Scottish songs and Irish songs. And between songs, they got incredibly drunk and they were absolutely terrorizing each other, like they hated each other so much. They would play this incredibly sweet love song, and then they would basically say how much they hated each other and how they wished the worst upon each other in this way. In a way that it was a great show. It was quite funny.
It's like half the
But
show,
also
right?
weird. It was a little bit. It became uncomfortable because it wasn't just a show. It was clear that they actually felt that way. And so my question for Devin is: has he ever played in a context where though the music continues to work, there is great animosity between the players.
Wow.
What a question. I'm going to write this down here. To
I know that I can answer that question,
Yeah.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I will be very intrigued.
How would you answer it, Trey?
Yeah.
Um, I would answer that in any kind of performance space, there there are always going to be some level of animosity that's there, whether it be minute or whether it be a lot of unseen tension going on and influencing how you perform.
Mhm,
No, this does not reflect anything of Hunchback that we just wrapped up. I'm thinking back to like past opera performances, past other productions. But there, you're dealing with people, and when people have disagreements, they do their best to separate it out from their performance, but at some point, it starts to influence it
Hmm.
quite a bit. And so I would say for me, how I've gotten around that is not to focus on how I'm feeling in the moment, but really go back to the text itself and be the interpreter of the text. And if I'm feeling animosity when I'm supposed to be singing a lullaby, that's going to be a very angry baby. So I it's kind of a self-reflection check and an individual self-reflection check for me that I
yeah,
have to go back to the source material and then consider what my role is. Is my
mm,
role to deliver how I'm feeling or the text itself, and
right,
try to strike the balance that's between there in relation to my other colleagues and hope to influence servicing the story that's being told
yeah,
versus how we're relating to each other outside of the context of our performances.
hmm, hmm.
Hope that answers your question.
It does, it does, yeah. I think the thing that was in the case of, this particular band, what one of the what was remarkable is it didn't seem to affect the feeling of the performance when they did the performance in between.
That's
Like,
amazing.
it
Huh.
was and I think it's partially because, whatever, they've been on tour for 2 years or whatever it was, so they've done this so often, and
It's like muscle memory now. Yeah.
muscle memory, and the hatred was muscle memory even. So, a
Like,
repetition of the night before, So,
maybe they didn't realize how south that had gone with
yeah, yeah,
the vitriol and how that appeared to the audience,
right,
when to them that's also muscle memory, where
right.
it's just like, "Trey, you suck." You don't suck. But, like,
Yeah,
"Trey, you suck because you always suck, so today I'm gonna use a little slightly stronger word." And then now it doesn't feel as meanwhile, the audience is like, "What is wrong with her?" Yeah.
right.
You don't always suck. You don't ever suck. I'm sorry.
I
I
was
didn't
about to
mean
say I
it like
don't always. Are we
I'm
gonna
never
fight
gonna
about
climb out of
this?
this one. I'm just never gonna climb out of this one. Trey,
Yeah.
you're awesome, and I mean that.
Likewise, Emily.
Thank
Very
you.
much likewise.
I know my face hurts.
Oh, goodness. Um, Stephen, I know that we asked you last time a question that had nothing to do with anything that we talked about. Um, so I'm gonna ask a different one.
Okay.
Ooh. Ooh.
Slightly changed up a little bit. What is a question that you wish that you were asked more often?
Mm, I'm not sure. Um, People don't ask me often enough how to make a good martini.
All right. And so my follow-up is, how do you make a good martini?
Well, the thing is, you actually need to use vermouth. Like people want it to be completely dry. There's no vermouth in it at all. But it's really it's 4 to 1, 4 parts to one, 4 parts gin, and also it should be gin, and also it should be shaken, not stirred.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I can say that I've never had a gin martini,
Oh,
uh, but
okay.
I am encouraged.
Give it a try. Give it a try. And I'm agnostic about olive or lemon peel, or both are a possibility. Uh,
Okay.
that's known in some quarters as the Rayworth, after the poet uh, uh, Tom Rayworth, English poet who died not long ago, who would have both garnishes.
Hmm.
Josh in the chat says, as a former bartender, I agree with this take.
Thank you, Josh. Josh and I have a lot in common, I think. So
I
that's good.
think he would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know he was looking forward to this episode.
Oh, that's
Yep, he wrote 100% agree.
great.
Yeah. I don't know the difference between, I mean, obviously the physical difference between shaking something or stirring something, but
Yeah.
is it about the air in it that shaking creates, or what is the difference?
It's about the dilution. So it actually dilutes it a little bit more with
Okay, sure.
when you shake it, but it makes it colder, much colder than just stirring it. And it gives it, you sometimes get little shards of ice on top if you shake it most vigorously. So, yeah, it also has the drama of the shaking and the pouring.
It's the whole experience.
The whole experience is great.
Yes. The delight on your face says it all.
I really should be drinking one. I don't. Well, I guess I could claim that this is a martini, but that would be, yeah. Not that I haven't seen people drink martinis that size.
We don't judge.
Yeah.
No. There is a picture on my Instagram, no, on my Facebook, um, where I am holding a rather large, what looks like a martini glass. I
Uh-huh.
kid you not, the stem is about that wide around, and then the lip of that is this huge
Oh,
thing.
wow.
It's a decorative piece. There were things like things that go inside of it, but I took the things out and took that and goes, well, here's my nightly cocktail. It was
I,
funnier in my head.
well, no, you have to use the props appropriately, and it sounds like you are. So
And it made you look hobbit sized.
that's true.
For the
Just
first
to
time in
bring
my
that full
life.
circle. Right.
Jeez. Stephen, I have to say, it has been another glorious time with you here tonight. As always, it is lovely to talk with you, and I'm going to ask you again, would you come back?
Of course I would. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
It's always fun to talk to you guys. I really,
Thank you.
really enjoy it. And even just to check in how things go, though, you know.
Yeah.
So absolutely. Love to.
Maybe next time you can actually demonstrate the
I can make a martini. Absolutely.
yeah. That would be fabulous.
Okay. Yeah.
I like
I wish
The sights and
one
sounds.
for you somehow, but
One day.
one day.
Well, Stephen, I do want to ask for our listening audience for this episode, we definitely encourage to go back and listen to the first episode, as this is continuation of that. But for this audience, where can they find more about you, more about your work?
Website, which is my name, stevenseidenberg.com. Instagram. You can buy books of mine, photography or literary, anywhere you can buy books, basically. So
Yeah. Stephen with a V.
with a V.
And please do. As we close this episode out, I want to thank our listening audience for tuning in today. We literally couldn't do the show without you. Thank you so much for tuning in. You can find past episodes of ours on our website at themodrom.com or wherever you happen to get your podcast episodes. We don't judge. Maybe just a little bit. Just kidding. We don't. You can support us on Patreon, but it is absolutely not required. Just search for The Modrom on Patreon. Thanks so much for tuning, everybody. Have a great evening. Bye.